With New Year's resolutions, many of us will make a vow to eat healthier, and that's a good thing. But what about our beloved pets and their nutrition? Greetings, I'm naturopathic Dr. Dennis Black, and here at Meow Greens, we're on a mission to provide better nutrition for all cats because truthfully, all cat food is dead food, which is why we created Meow Greens in the first place. We bring their dead food back to life with live vitamins, minerals, probiotics, enzymes, omega oils, antioxidants, and so much more. All with a tasty formula that your cat will love. You can improve your cat's coat, digestion, and energy, and have less vet bills. Let 2025 bring a new year and a new pet. Get a Jumpstart trial bag, normally $20. Get a 100% discount with promo code MEOW. You just cover the shipping. Bring your pet's food back to life. Get your free Jumpstart trial bag. Go to meowgreens.com. Use promo code MEOW, MEOW. So good your cat will ask for it by name.
I have come here to chew bubble gum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubble.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show. You got a belly up to the bar? We've kept your seat, and it's great to see you back. You, and you, and you, and you, and you, and all of you back. Snowball is going to be your bartender tonight. He pours with the best of them. And the lava lamp is in fact lighted to my left, your right. That is the Ridley Scott commemorative lava lamp. Because who knows what the hell kind of wacky shapes are going to come out of that thing. But I make mention of that because you can listen, and if you are smart and quick like a bunny, you can listen to the show on shrmedia.com. If you want to watch the show, you can watch on the SHR Media Facebook page, and you can watch on the SHR Media YouTube channel. And we don't water our drinks just like we don't water our conversation, politics, religion, crime, culture, economics, race, sex, science, law. We talk about it all here at the Saloon. Nothing is sacred. The speech is free, but the booze is not. All we ask is that you flush the toilet, jiggle the handle, and don't forget to tip your waitress. Tonight, it's Saturday, April 14th, year of our Lord, 2018. And it's one day away from the proverbial D-Day. By the way, I hate to say, actually I hate to ask, folks, where are your kids and where are your taxes? Because I don't know, this is kind of weird. I just got my taxes in. A lot of things were late, sadly for me, but I got everything on time. I don't particularly like to e-file, but this time I really was left with no choice. I had to e-file. Because I was just kind of pushing the proverbial envelope, if you will. Now, perhaps some of you may be wondering, BZ, why the hell are you broadcasting on a Saturday? Well, the brief explanation is this. I went into the studio on Thursday to do my regular show. I'm on Tuesday and Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern, right here on the SHR Media program, or SHR Media Network, I should say. Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, 2 miles from the locus of evil in California, the Bill Mill, the capital of California, Sacramento, where tonight, in particular, you can smell the brimstone and the sulfur, the vapors, the evil vapors wafting over the capital city of California. And unfortunately, it's blowing east And so they're trying to get into the door right now, and I wouldn't let them in. The terrible vapors. Anyway, I came into the studio on Thursday, sat down, lit everything up, boom, bada bing, bada boom, only to discover that there was no internet. I mean, zip, zero, null, Z, the null set, not a damn thing. So once we got that taken care of, and we got that taken care of Friday, and by the way, Sackhead Sean, he promised that he's going to be here in the background. By God, it was Sackhead Sean who got everything back up. So congrats to Sackhead Sean for doing that. And now we have internet, Houston. We have internet, and we are up and we are live. Really appreciative of that because I had so much stuff to talk about that I thought, okay, I can either delay all this stuff until next Tuesday, but if there's one thing you can say about 2018, especially, and I say this, God, it's like I say this every week. There's so much stuff, so much news occurring these days that if you miss a day, if you miss a week, there's such a backlog. And I thought to myself, there's nobody really broadcasting live right now on Saturday. And even if I don't get that many people listening, because it's not customary for people to listen to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show on a Saturday, it's Tuesday and Thursday, and I've completely disabused people from listening on Saturday. In other words, what are they doing on Saturday? They're going out, they're having fun, they're watching movies. They're certainly not cleaning their fish tank or balancing their checkbooks. But I expect that I may get a few hits in podcast listening a little bit later on shrmedia.com and or watching a little bit later on the SHR Media Facebook page or the YouTube channel. But I couldn't pass this up because there is just so doggone much happening these days. Not the least of which, now, because of all the craziness that's been occurring, sometimes I find it challenging to start out the program, and I like to start out the program on a positive note. I've got about 3 stories, I believe, of a positive note, and then unfortunately I've got something of a sad note coming up after that, and then we're going to go hard and fast with the rest of the news. But first, as per normal, I like to start out the show on a little bit of an upbeat, if we can.
It's time for happy stories and good times.
Well, here's a happy story, and it comes like this. Police repeatedly jailed Judge Estacio, blocked by Dick's Sporting Goods from buying a gun. What? What does that mean? A notorious judge who has been repeatedly jailed, tried to buy a gun in violation of her probation, according to police. Henrietta, New York. A Rochester City Court judge who allegedly attempted to buy a shotgun in violation of her probation conditions was turned away by Dick's Sporting Goods employees on April 2nd. Judge Leticia Estacio, who recently received a pay hike despite her refusal to report to work since July of 20.
If you're a maintenance supervisor for a commercial property, you've had to deal with everything from leaky faucets to flickering light bulbs. But nothing's worse than that ancient boiler that's lived in the building since the day it was built, 50 years ago. It's enough to make anyone lose their cool. That's where Grainger comes in. With industrial-grade products and dependable fast delivery, Grainger can help with any challenge, from worn-out components to everyday necessities. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
2017 subsequently denied the allegation and claimed that the woman who attempted to buy the gun was actually her sister. You know, if I had a producer, what I would do is this. I'd say, was allegedly her sister. Well, I know that's what she says. That crank wasn't mine, and those pants that were on me weren't mine. They thought she was me, Estacio said in a Facebook video on Saturday night, according to WHEC. She also issued an open letter to her supervisor, Judge Craig Doran, in which she claimed to be the victim. She was the victim of a hostile work environment. Spectrum News reported Estacio has retained her employment as a judge despite being arrested for drunk driving on February 16, 2016. And let's go back to the story. got a pay hike despite her refusal to report to work since July of 2017. And she was turned away by Dick's Sporting Goods, attempting to buy a shotgun in violation of her probation. Okay, that was happy story number 1. Now, don't you love it, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, when leftists get caught in the trap of their own making? Schadenfreude. And the answer for me, for BZ, is fuck yes, I enjoy that. Don't we all? So I'm thinking that you may enjoy this as well. High-ranking de Blasio staffer arrested on gun charges. Oh no! If I had a producer, at that point my producer would have done this. That's right, arrested on gun charges. No, not gun charges. No. Well, the answer is sadly yes. A high-ranking member of the New York mayor's staff, de Blasio, Billy de Blasio, was arrested for possession of a handgun on Saturday night. Queens, New York. A high-ranking member of New York Mayor Bill de Blasio's staff was arrested with a handgun on Saturday and arraigned on Sunday in the criminal court where her mother is a judge. Reagan Stevens, 42, was in a parked Infiniti with 24-year-old Montel Hughes and 25-year-old Caesar Forbes when police encountered them after responding to an alert for shots fired in the area. The New York Daily News reported. NYPD officers found a loaded 9mm handgun in the glove compartment of the vehicle the three were in, but nobody would claim ownership of it. So police arrested everybody. By the way, the two Bints in these stories, a female. One was a black female, the judge. This one on de Blasio's staff was a white female. And both leftists. Imagine that, hoisted on the petard of their own creation. Police arrested everybody. The incident began at about 9:42 p.m. on April 7th when Shot Spotter, a citywide system of highly tuned microphones designed to detect gunfire and pinpoint its location, alerted police about a burst of 5 gunshots fired in Jamaica, Queens, the New York Post reported. When officers arrived in the area, they found a 2002 dark red Infiniti occupied by a deputy director in the mayor's office of criminal justice and 2 young men. Police found a loaded 9mm handgun which had its serial number removed. That's a separate felony in and of itself, by the way. In the vehicle's glove box, the 8-round magazine in the gun held only 3 bullets. Well, that's ineffective. You should be slapped just for that. And police found an empty shell casing on the floor of the car near Stevens' feet. No. The New York Post reported. Okay, so Schadenfreude on that one as well. Another happy story, and this one massively underreported, so it's up to BZ to report it for you. President Donald Trump orders top-to-bottom review of welfare programs. This sounds just like Willie Jefferson Clinton back in 1994. Billy couldn't pull that off today, I don't believe. President Trump signed an executive order Tuesday of this past week for a government-wide review of welfare programs with the goal of putting more people back to work, the White House officials said. The order directs all federal agencies involved in providing more than $700 billion in low-income assistance annually to study programs that are failing Americans. Well, hallelujah. It's about time we re-examine this because truly, these programs are failing Americans. And to report back in 90 days with recommendations, said White House Domestic Policy Council Director Andrew Bremberg. Our country still struggles from nearly record-high welfare enrollments. Barack Hussein Obama being, of course, the food stamp king for the past 8 years. Mr. Bremberg said in a conference call with reporters. President Trump endorses reforms that ensure those in need receive assistance, while eliminating the economic stagnation that has resulted from long-term government dependence. The executive order states that federal policy will be to reform welfare programs to empower people following principles of economic mobility. Those principles include improving employment outcomes and economic independence, included by strengthening existing work requirements and introducing new ones. Work requirements for welfare and introducing new ones. What a unique concept. Promoting strong social networks to escape poverty, including through work and marriage. Work and marriage. You mean that, oh my God, these asshole conservatives are trying to throw marriage back on us again. God, will they never learn? Addressing populations that may particularly struggle to find and maintain employment, including single parents, formerly incarcerated individuals, and the homeless. Sounds to me like a great idea. Now, that having been said, there's something that I really don't think, as a matter of fact, today I didn't hear it on the news at all. I had to dig pretty deep on this. And I found this at some kind of a weird semi-conspiracy place that I go to every once in a while called disclose.tv, disclose.tv. They're a kind of a weird-ass compendium of all sorts of stuff. And when I read this, because it gave an attribution, but it didn't provide a link, I thought, okay, now I'm not going to talk about this on the air until I myself go to the internet and dig around and see if I can find at least 2 or 3 places that indicate that this article that came from, in my opinion, kind of a weird-ass source, until I found, just like a good reporter would do. So if I can do it, that means that all the young little millennial and Gen Z journalistas who call themselves journalistas but have an absolutely fucking incurious mind, like Incurious George and Incurious Georgette. So I found the attributions that I was looking for, like a regular reporter would be expected to do. And sadly, I have to tell you this. Art Bell has passed away at the age of 72. Now, I did find this information from the Nye County Sheriff's Department in Nevada. And there was an accompanying video with that, so I went to the Nye County Sheriff's Department website, and I went to 2 other sites that essentially said the same thing. There was a video that I watched from the sheriff herself of Nye County. The information is fairly scarce. Essentially said that Art Bell had passed away in his home in Pahrump, Nevada, at the age of 72. They didn't indicate particularly why, or how, I should say, that he passed away. The other thing I discovered is that for whatever reason, the family was upset that the Nye County Sheriff decided to disclose that information at that time. But once notifications have been made, essentially lawfully, there's nothing to stop anyone from making a notification of that regard. So clearly the family had been notified. They were aware of it themselves. Those are the only important notifications that need to be made. After that, it became public. Now, I have to say this. I used to listen to Art Bell fairly frequently. When I was working a graveyard shift as a supervisor, some of the patrol units, the supervisors' cars, late at night, had radios in them. I mean like AM/FM radios. None of the other cars had AM/FM radios. That was a delete off the fleet. Delete the radio. Boom. Done. Gone. Some of the sergeants' vehicles had radios in them. So if it was late at night, if I was doing some overtime on a shift, then I would listen to Art Bell. And Art was a pretty cool cat. I enjoyed his voice. He had been into radio broadcasting for quite some time. He had a radio license, if I'm not mistaken, all the way back from the age of 13. He enjoyed having his show on. It dealt with the paranormal, unexplained things, and that's kind of how I got into the periphery of the unexplained, the paranormal. I kind of got involved in that in the 60s when I used to read Ivan T. Sanderson books about, of all things, the Yeti, Sasquatch, etc. And Art Bell, to me, he had a really familial, easy, friendly style. He was his personal life, I can't really say what happened to him. He loved to be on the radio. That much is clear. He would retire. He came back. He retired again. He used to say things that he was receiving threats to his family, but he would never specifically go into how or why people were threatening his family. So it got to the point after a while, I began to tune him out. I loved to hear him. He became, to me, just a little bit too much of a flake in terms of consistency. And if there's one thing that you expect with radio is you want to be able to tune out, and that's why I was pissed on Thursday, is if BZ or somebody else says that they're going to be on Thursday night at such and such a time, well, then you expect BZ and any other radio host to be there so that you can listen to them, watch them, etc. When Art became a little bit of a flake and things just kind of went sideways with him for a while, I cannot specifically say why, and I missed him when he was gone. In any event, Art was a great voice, a great radio broadcaster. I truly wish that he had continued broadcasting because I think literally millions of people enjoyed listening to him late at night. He was on Sirius XM for a while. I think his show was called Dark Matter. Then, if I'm not mistaken, it was called Midnight in the Desert. And after that, his situation just became, I couldn't find him anymore. And then you really didn't hear much information about Art Bell. But my apologies, my condolences to the family. Art Bell really, truly was loved by a lot of people who used to enjoy listening to his show. He was one of the bigger voices that brought the paranormal, UFOs, unexplained incidents to the forefront in America. He had literally at one time, he had a massive audience of millions and millions of people, despite the fact that it was late at night. Speaking of late at night, I want to thank Whiskey Dale for being in chat. So good evening. Thank you, sir. Whiskey Dale says, GSW, gunshot residue. And he also says there should be no federal welfare. That should be at the state level. I completely agree. But the problem with entitlements is this. Once something like that is instituted, it plays hell trying to get them back. Now we're going to transform into the rest of the news that occurred. We're going to go into, okay, this is weird. I don't know if you just heard this. I was talking about the paranormal. You can't see this, but under me right here is a desk. And in this desk, on this side over here, if you're looking at me right now, that's my right, your left. And as I completed talking about the paranormal, and I wish I could put the camera down here, the lower desk drawer in the desk just decided to come out. Listen, this is me pushing the drawer back in. Okay, that was a little bizarre. Moving on. Trump decided that he was going to rain some missiles down on Damascus on Friday because of the gas attacks in Syria. And we've heard all about that. I don't need to go into the details about that. But essentially, Syria and Assad gassed his own people. There was a story in the UK Mirror which said Russia will shoot down U.S. missiles fired at Syria and target launch sites, warns the ambassador. At this point, I want to tell you that this didn't happen. Let's see if we have the Russian ambassador who can weigh in on this. Russian ambassador, are you there?
فنحن ممكن نشير إلى تصريح رئيس أركان رئيس بوتين ورئيس أركان الحرب الروسي.
I would agree with him 100% with what he said. And what he said, essentially, is this. U.S. missiles fired at Syria will be shot down and launch sites targeted, a Russian ambassador warned on Friday. The measures threatened by Alexander Zaspikin, Russia's ambassador to Lebanon, could trigger a major escalation in the Syrian conflict. Now, depending on who you listen to, and the talking heads went wild after that, saying that if we went through with this, with the Syrian with the attack into Syria because of the gas attacks that were attributed to President Assad in Syria, that there was going to be hell to pay and that Iran would get into the war and we would be fighting essentially another proxy war with Russia. We know that the Russian fleet left Syria and went out more into past the littorals and into blue water. For what reasons? Perhaps to try to intercept our missiles. Missiles did come in, and it was declared a success. The odd thing is... okay, we're going to talk about this until the bottom of the hour. The odd thing is the British joined in. Theresa May said, okay. The French joined in. Macron. Anyway, the French frog said yes. The interesting thing about that is that Trudeau, Canada's Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, said, I support that. Now, did he contribute anything to that whatsoever? No, but he said after the fact, oh, gee, you have my support in that. Really? Yeah, apparently so. I have a little reminder for folks. And I happen to track this down. And it's a little audio cut. And let's go back a few years when the former president of the United States, a certain individual, said something like this.
And today I want to make it absolutely clear to Assad and those under his command, the world is watching. The use of chemical weapons is and would be totally unacceptable.
No, unacceptable.
And if you make the tragic mistake of using these weapons, there will be consequences, and you will be held accountable.
Consequences and held accountable. Remember that. Except there were no consequences and nobody was held accountable. And let's remember this as well, because I've got just a minute or so before the bottom of the hour break. I'd like to take you in the Peabody and Sherman Wayback Machine right now, and remember what the Obama administration said about the stash of Syrian chemicals? Well, let's listen.
We're getting chemical weapons out of Syria without having initiated a strike. So what else are you talking about?
They've got the chemical weapons.
By the way, this is 2014 when Obama is saying, we got everything out of Syria. We did it ourselves because we're grand.
We're getting the chemical weapons out of Syria.
Well, Chris, all you have to do is look at the fact that today, the final 8% of chemical weapons were taken out of Syria.
Right, that was Marie lying her ass off Harf.
We should commend the administration for the result that they got. The removal of chemical weapons out of Syria is a substantial accomplishment.
We certainly worked with them in Syria to...
this is DWS. This is Debbie Wasserman Schultz. She's very believable when she says this, too.
To bring all the chemical weapons out of Syria.
We struck a deal where we got 100% of the chemical weapons.
That's right. John Kerry chimes in and says, we got 100% of the chemical weapons out of Syria.
100% of the declared chemical weapons out of Syria.
100%. Did you hear the equivocation? 100% of the declared chemical weapons out of Syria. You fucking weasel.
Chemical weapons or got chemical weapons out of the area.
We got, as you know, last year, all the chemical weapons out of Syria. No small feat.
Syria eliminating its chemical weapons and ultimately having them destroyed by the international community.
Syria would still have...
The international community, Obama swore, destroyed all of Assad's chemical weapons.
Declared chemical weapons stockpile. Right now, they don't. Right now, Bashar al-Assad does not have a declared chemical weapons stockpile.
A declared chemical weapons stockpile. And yet, they were thinking that, the American people are stupid enough to believe this shit.
Remove that declared chemical weapons stockpile, and we destroyed that declared chemical weapons stockpile, which means that Bashar al-Assad can't use those chemical weapons against his own people.
And the purpose of the strike was to get the chemical weapons out of Syria.
Right, the chemical weapons out of Syria.
Weapons of mass destruction are taken out of the zone of conflict. And thank God we did that. We are making...
Thank God we did that!
Real progress in Iraq and Syria. And I mean real progress. If Russia can help us, and it is right now, Russia has helped bring about the Iran nuclear agreement.
Right, because Russia's our friend, and they're helping. Russia helped the Obama administration. It was good for Obama to be friends with Russia, because Russia was being all helpy helperton.
Russia helped get the chemical weapons out of Syria.
The destruction of the Syrian chemical weapons stockpile.
I would have, I think, made a bigger mistake if I had said, chemical weapons, that doesn't really change my calculus.
Capital weapons, that really doesn't change anything, does it? Obama, you liar.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show. Also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capital, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through SHRmedia.com, HighPlainsTalkRadio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on BlogTalkRadio.com. There's
no surrender ever,
because truth is not always pleasant.
Hey guys, it's Sackhead Clint. I'm excited to tell you about a brand new show here on the SHR Media Network. I'm teaming up with the one and only all-powerful, the bloviating Zeppelin, sitting here to my left, bringing to you a fresh new show here on the network. It's Against Tyranny. And we'll be picking up where the Sackheads left off. Excited to be with you, sir.
Sackheads Against Tyranny.
We're going to chat. We're going to chat Wednesday nights.
SHAT.
Sackheads Against Tyranny.
Wednesday nights, 11 p.m. Oh, it's the same time, right? 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific.
Same SAC time, same SAC channel.
Yep. SHRmedia.com.
See what I did there?
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
Hey, BZ. So the plan's working. You got rid of Sacco. Sean is now stepping away.
I never even saw him.
And I know, and insidious. You know, we talked about this for for the last 3 years, and finally coming to fruition.
You know, I'm still in the room, right?
It's almost like he's here still. Did you hear that?
Yeah, it's kind of.
It's amazing. It's kind of
at you.
It's kind of eerie.
Like a poltergeist.
Like a poltergeisty thing.
Yeah, sackheads against tyranny.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you're listening to the Thursday edition of the Sackheads, Jesus, of BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, except it's on Saturday. It's not live. This is not a rebroadcast of the Thursday show. This is the Thursday show being done on Saturday. Well, in the promos for the Thursday show, and again, thanks to Whiskey Dale for being in chat tonight. Really appreciate your presence here, sir. When there's other things that you could have done, you could have been over in the Hugh Hewitt side of the stuff right now, listening to a lot of music being played, so I really appreciate your time being here, especially on such damn short notice, because pretty much almost no one knew that I was going to be broadcasting tonight, but I was just bubbling forth with ebullience, if you will. I told you that I was going to be reading and going over an article that Kurt Schlichter had written this past week, and I read Kurt Schlichter. I still hope to have him on the show. He's one busy cat, as you might expect, and he said that he's going to be on, but trying to get his schedule to agree with mine, et cetera, et cetera. We're still having some communications issues. He's going to be here someday. I'm still working on it. I haven't given it up. But in the meantime, he wrote an article this past week entitled, "They Take the Second Amendment First and the First Amendment Second." And this is what I've been saying for quite some time. This is from Kurt Schlichter. We have talked a lot about the liberal assault on our right as American citizens to keep and bear arms for the defense of ourselves, our families, our communities, and our Constitution. But it is a mistake to think of a disarmed population as their desired end state. No, that's merely the first step towards the subjugation of the normals. What they want is not only for us to be disarmed, but to be silenced. They are not going to stop with the Second Amendment. Next, they're going to move to finish off the First Amendment. They don't want you to speak freely. They don't want you to have access to a free press. They don't want you to practice your religion as you see fit. And when you are disarmed and silenced, and you are stripped of any god but government, the government they control absolutely and forever, then they will have achieved their dream. You will no longer be a citizen. You will be a serf. Stop. Sackheads Clint and I spoke directly about that this past Wednesday when I read an article by Peter Layden, essentially saying leftists are crafting themselves for a second civil war. They expect it, and they're not going to stop until they win and hold all the cards, and there essentially are no such people known as conservatives anymore. If you doubt that, go and listen to Sackheads Against Tyranny. On Wednesday, go to the SHR Facebook page, SHR Media, Facebook. And when you're there, look and scroll down just a little bit until you see Sackheads Against Tyranny. Listen to the show. Almost the entire show is that article about how leftists want to jam Their policies right up our bungholes, and they don't want to listen to us anymore. They have no time for us as far as they're concerned. It's way too late. They need to take control now, forever, and in perpetuity. Period. End of statement. You will no longer be a citizen. You will be a serf. We can imagine what an America without our rights would look like, and it's really bad. Oh, that's crazy talk. Really? Let's look across the ocean and see what's happening there. The British have kindly given us a preview. They allowed themselves to be disarmed, but why would they need guns? Britain is totally safe, except London just stumbled past New York in terms of violent crime. Oh, and it has an epidemic of knife violence and acid attacks. But on the plus side, the decent people are helpless. In the view of the elite, that's a plus. When you're helpless, you need them, and you are compliant. But at least they have freedom of speech, except no, they don't. In recent weeks, some guy calling himself Count Dankula was convicted of a crime for saying something. For saying something. It was a joke, and a tasteless one, but now he faces jail for speaking words. Think about that. And the police agencies in a land that used to be a bulwark of freedom and human rights are on the rise, tweeting warnings to others who might be or who might say something that offends the elite sensibilities that the bobbies are watching. George Orwell would be all, see? Told you, if he was alive, except he'd probably be in the slammer too for saying things that are illegal to say in the UK. Let's review. In once Great Britain, there are things that are illegal to say. But not here at home, not in America. Why? That could never happen here. Liberals certainly don't want to limit your speech, just like they don't want to take your guns. Baloney. The left is intent on taking away your right to free speech. Take a gander at our college campuses if you want a spoiler into what America will look like in 20 years if these aspiring Castros and Chavezes get their way. Try saying what you want on a college campus. Try saying something that dissents from the SJW gospel pushed by these pierced, tatted-up, screaming weirdos that the gutless administrators cater to. State the obvious, that there are two genders, not 183 of them, or refuse to use ridiculous gender-neutral pronouns like zer and zip. See what happens. You think hugging happens, or do you think violent, unhinged retribution against the wrong thinker happens? Well, let's not even talk about due process in the campus kangaroo courts, because there's nothing to talk about. Academic justice does not mean an examination of the facts and evidence with the accused offering the chance to provide a meaningful defense that includes the right to cross-examine the witnesses against him. Yes, him, because SJW justice is not remotely like justice. It is instead a hierarchy of fake oppression narratives that dictates that the accused must be punished because of the difference between who he is and who the accuser is. Guess who is at the bottom and presumed guilty? Remember, all this is not just tolerated by liberals. They think it's good that your voice is silenced. They think it's good that you can have your life destroyed, not because of what you did, but because of your sex or race or beliefs. This oppression is not a bug. To them, this oppression is a feature. And it's spreading off campus into the real world like gangrene. It's not as far along as the campaign to leave you defenseless in the face of Democrat-friendly criminals and aspiring Democrat tyrants, but it's coming. Look at Roseanne Barr, who is hardly a conservative, but who dared to buck the elite's prejudices about normal people and refused to portray them as hideous, racist buffoons in the reboot of her show. Unforgivably, in the eyes of the liberals, it was a huge hit, thanks to those flyover rubes. So the elite is trying to destroy her. Look at Laura Ingraham. She said something liberals don't like, and through their agents in the big corporations, only an idiot believes that corporate America is still dominated by old-school Republicans instead of eager Democrat allies. They attempted to annihilate her. and the liberals cheered at the thought that her voice would be silenced, including alleged journalists. There was a time when journalists at least pretended to believe in a free press. But one of the great things about the age of Donald Trump is how the masks have come off. Liberal journalists hate the idea of free speech because you normals might dare presume to use it. Liberals love the idea of shutting up the opposition. Today, it's through intimidation. Tomorrow, it'll be through the government. It all starts with guns. Liberals hate the idea of you having guns for two reasons. The first is the fact that guns are the tools of free men. And when you have them, you have the dignity that comes with the ability to protect your lives and your rights. They want to strip you of that dignity, both because doing so will humiliate you and show you who's really the boss, and because they enjoy rubbing your uppity rube noses in your own powerlessness. But of course, you're not powerless yet, because regardless of their ridiculous lies about how an armed citizenry can't possibly pose a military threat to a leftist dictatorship, they know very well that as long as you have your weapons, you will never be your slaves. Their slaves. Once your Second Amendment rights are gone, do you think the liberals will suddenly decide to be more respectful of your First Amendment rights? Or do you think they will accelerate their campaign to strip you of the civil rights that remain the last obstacle to their total control? Let's just stop right there for a second. For those of you who have not had the opportunity to listen to the very first Sackheads Against Tyranny show, which was the replacement for the Sackheads radio show when Sackhead Sean had to retire, we hope temporarily, I would recommend that you go back and listen to Sackheads Against Tyranny this past Wednesday. Go to the SHR Media Facebook page, and I and Sackheads Clint go over the article by Peter Layden. And what he does is he uses California as an example. Now, California has a super majority of Democrats, and they want it that way. As I say, they want to have power and control in perpetuity. They already recognize that the Republicans that exist anymore are pretty much toothless, and they will rule this state and are doing so with an iron fist until they manage to drive this motherfucker into the ground. And they're in the process of doing that right now. I was just talking to my tax guy today when I happened to sign off and decided that, okay, my taxes, they're going away. I'm done. Here's your check. He kind of thinks I'm a tinfoil hat wearer. He kind of thinks that this state will be okay. And he's going to be here for the rest of however long he decides that he's going to work. And when he retires, he's going to do tax stuff kind of on and off. And this really doesn't involve him very much. He's in California, and it's not really affecting him until it affects him. We have the highest taxes in the nation, except for perhaps Connecticut. Oh, and Connecticut, by the way, just thought I'd point out, is going bankrupt. So will California eventually. People in California like to crow that there is a multi-billion-dollar surplus, except that the Train to Forever, they're not taking into account any of California's deficits. And they're not taking into account that the biggest vacuum, the biggest hoovering of cash right now in California is the vastly underfunded and overspent Train to Nowhere, our high-speed rail train, which came in at $12 million for the bond, but now it's up to 72, I'm not million, I meant billion, $12 billion for the bond, but now it's up to $72 billion and rising every 6 months. And it's not going to stop. There's an article that I may be reading next Tuesday when I come back. California is now starting to realize, wait a minute, where's all this money really going? And why is it expanding at a geometric rate? The federal government has now decided that it's time to come into California and audit the system and the process in the high-speed rail system, and to which I say, excellent, excellent. But Peter Layden, in his article, uses California as the example that everyone else in the United States needs to follow because California is doing it so well. Yeah, the same California that is 50th in terms of quality of life, the same California that has hot and cold running homeless, mental patients, nuts, shitting and pissing everywhere. Wonderful. Folks, unless you absolutely have to go to San Francisco, I highly recommend against it. Unless you absolutely have to go to Los Angeles, anywhere in California, I highly recommend against it. The state literally is a toilet. And it's not going to get any better. In fact, it's going to get worse. Jerry Brown, the current governor, whom... quiet. You're not supposed to know that he has onset Alzheimer's. I have this from a good source inside the Capitol. Don't tell anyone this. When Jerry Brown leaves as governor, and do you think this would happen? Oh, you know who we're going to get for governor? We're going to get Gavin Newsom. Now, if you think Jerry Brown was left, you haven't seen left. Jerry Brown is insufficiently left for the left. Gavin Newsom? Now, Jerry Brown said, okay, you can send troops to the border. I'll send some National Guard troops to the border, but they can't conduct any illegal investigations, which they weren't going to do anyway. Do you think Gavin Newsom would send any of these National Guard units to the border? Of course not. He would be inviting this caravan specifically into the state of California. Jerry Brown may end up doing this anyway. The insanity that is California, and leftists want exactly what's happening in California to spread to all the 57 other states, according to Obama. Let that be a lesson to you. I got about 7 or 8 more minutes before the top of the hour. Let's break here for just a second because Bobby Mueller struck again. And now they've decided that they're going to kick in doors and take names at Trump's lawyer's home and office and that of Michael Cohen. So let's see. Jim Jordan happened to be speaking on Lou Dobbs about the rampant hypocrisy and the massive double standard that exists in how the Justice Department decided that they were going to treat Hillary Clinton's personal attorney and Donald Trump's personal attorney. It's inequality like this that drives the American people absolutely
the American
crazy.
People are looking at very simple, if we can, you mentioned the conflicts of Rod Rosenstein. Let's put that in a sequential perspective, if we could put up that full screen, please. Rosenstein convinces Attorney General Sessions to recuse himself.
Yep.
He calls for President Trump to fire James Comey, which he does.
Right, writes the memo.
Okay, listen to this. I'm going to back this up a little bit because if this isn't incredible rampant hypocrisy, I don't know what is. Please listen very careful to what Lou Dobbs is saying about Rod Rosenstein's conflicts.
Yep.
He calls for President Trump to fire James Comey, which he does.
Right, writes the memo, yep.
Rosenstein names special counsel to investigate Trump's firing of Comey.
Yes, yes.
What possible sense, even on, if I may say, even on Capitol Hill,
yeah.
What possible sense does that journey
and I would
make?
argue, yeah, and I would argue there's one more step. Rod Rosenstein is involved in...
Listen to this. Listen to this. The remarkable, staggering, purposeful incompetence and the hypocrisy of your Department of Justice.
The raid that just took place, he signs off on the raid that took place of Mr. Cohen, both at his residence and at his business. Now, again, this is the thing I think most Americans look at. When Cheryl Mills was asked to give information regarding the investigation into Secretary Clinton's use of the private email and classified information traveling across her private server, when she was asked, it was, Cheryl, we're giving you a great immunity deal. What time do you want us to come over? And never forget, Lou, they got to decide. Secretary Clinton, David Kendall, Cheryl Mills got to decide on the front end which emails were personal in their definition and which ones went back to the government and ultimately to the Benghazi committee. What a contrast, what a double standard, and more than anything, that is what drives Americans crazy. This idea that there are two standards in this country, there aren't supposed to be. It's supposed to be equal treatment under the law.
It is supposed to be equal treatment under the law. Now, let me go over these 3 points again, because these are 3 points that no one else in the media, in the American media, maggots, leftists, Democrats, none of them are making this point. It was Rod Rosenstein, the Assistant Attorney General of the United States of America, Department of Justice, who wrote the memo to President Donald Trump recommending the firing of Jim Comey. Stop. Part 1. Part 2, it is Rod Rosenstein who appointed Robert Mueller to look into Trump in terms of collusion with Russia and possible collusion with anything else, including the firing of James Comey, which Rod Rosenstein wrote the memo recommending. And then number 3, it is Rod Rosenstein who signed off on the FBI going in and kicking the door in and invading in the middle of night, a no-knock warrant. And I know exactly what those are because I've acquired those myself, where you don't have to go, hello, can I come in, pretty please? No, you just burst down the door. You don't have to knock if you don't want to. In the middle of the night, in 2 of Cohen's areas, 2 of his homes, and 2 of his offices. Are you kidding me? And the answer is no, I'm not kidding. This is exactly what Rod Rosenstein has done. No one except Lou Dobbs, Jim Jordan, a few other people are questioning Hillary Clinton, her attorney, and everyone else on the Democrat side, the leftist side, in cahoots with the American media maggots. They get a pass. I have never in my entire life seen an administration under fire from so many directions ever before at once. Now, say what you will about Donald Trump. I got about 2 more minutes before the top of the hour break. I have never seen such a wild array of forces aligned against one individual in the government ever in my entire life. And I've been on this planet for 7 decades now. And I'm not dead yet. So I'm still voicing these things to you because I can. Because, for one thing, I'm the bloviating Zeppelin. And for another, I'm certainly against tyranny. How is it, year after year, that there can be no price to pay on the part of the Democrats or the leftists, and the only prices to be paid are those of conservatives, or in this particular case, Donald Trump. Now, Donald Trump is far from perfect, and I've gotten my head aligned to the point where I have to just see what he does and not necessarily what he says. Now, I enjoyed for a while the chaos that President Trump brought to the White House, because it terribly needed to be turned upside down. The deep state, when we come back, after I excoriate Mark Zuckerberg for a while, when I come back, you want to hear stories about the deep state that you haven't heard yet? That haven't been broadcast far and wide? Well, do you think perhaps I might have some of those for you tonight? Yeah, well, first I'm going to prove what a fucktard and what a leftist. I sometimes lack the words. What an incredible dictator, I cannot think of another word, the social media giants want to be. Bezos, Zuckerberg, Will they ever get theirs? I'm not sure. But in the meantime, folks, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, as I continue to broadcast behind enemy lines, I will always be your bloviating Zeppelin, and this will always be your sanctuary, the Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads radio show, also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capitol, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through SHRmedia.com, HighPlainsTalkRadio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the unpleasant blind guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on BlogTalkRadio.com. There's
no surrender ever,
because truth is not always pleasant.
Hey guys, it's Sackhead Clint. I'm excited to tell you about a brand new show here on the SHR Media Network. I'm teaming up with the one and only all-powerful, the bloviating Zeppelin, sitting here to my left, bringing to you a fresh new show here on the network. It's Against Tyranny, and we'll be picking up where the Sackheads left off. Excited to be with you, sir.
Sackheads against tyranny.
We're going to chat. We're going to chat Wednesday nights.
SHAT.
Sackheads Against Tyranny.
Wednesday night, 11 p.m. Oh, it's the same time, right? 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific.
Same SAC time, same SAC channel.
SHRmedia.com.
See what I did there?
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
Hey, BZ. So the plan's working. You got rid of Sacco. Sean is now stepping away.
I never even saw him.
And I know, and insidious. You know, we talked about this for for the last 3 years, and finally coming to fruition.
You know I'm still in the room, right?
It's almost like he's here still. Did you hear that?
Yeah, it's kind of.
It's amazing. It's kind of
at you.
It's kind of eerie.
Like a poltergeist.
Like a poltergeisty thing.
Yeah, sackheads against tyranny.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Guess what? We're back. It's the second big-ass hour of the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct here from the SHR Media Network studios, where I broadcast behind enemy lines in occupied California. Go to shrmedia.com to listen right now, or you can watch on the SHR Media a Facebook page or the SHR Media YouTube channel, where I finally learned today, courtesy of Sackhead Sean, see, he's not gone. I finally learned today that there's a drop-down menu when you start YouTube that goes public, private, and if you don't click the public bar, if you don't click the little drop-down menu for public, well then, no one can see the video. M-O-R-O-N. That's me, BZ. Now, speaking of BZ, if you're on the Facebook Live or if you're on the YouTube Live, you're watching right now, I am holding up one each, an actual official Bloviating Zeppelin mug. And this isn't a regular mug. Oh, no. This is a beer quaffing mug. You can hear it. And it can hold at least one can of your favorite beer. And I'm going to put a new logo on these things and offer them for sale. And I'm sure that people will be buying these bastards up by the thousands. But I'll put my newest cool logo on that, and I may make that available through Cafe Press. And maybe some stuff, some swag with BZ's thing, is emblem and crest on T-shirts, and maybe some Sackheads Against Tyranny swag coming up. We may even have a swag store. Not quite sure yet, but I'm going to be pushing that for the SHR Media guys, Sackheads Clinton, Sackhead Sean. Now let's talk about, essentially, all you need to know about Mark Zuckerberg and his congressional hearings. By the way, this wasn't touted all across the fruited plain by the American media maggots, the leftists, or the Democrats. By the way, were you aware that as Zucky, 33-year-old, 5'7" Mark Zuckerberg was sitting down, he's sitting on a booster seat. I shit thee not. Go to your favorite search engine. Click on images. Put something similar to Mark Zuckerberg, booster seat, Congress, and see what you get. And here's a photograph that I'm looking at of Mark Zuckerberg in a nice suit, in a leather chair with a lot of studs around the edge, and he's sitting on about a 4-inch booster seat. I'm not kidding. So Mark Zucky is all of 5'7" tall. That's even shorter than me by 2 inches, okay? Oddly enough, here's something weird I discovered. He's about the same height as, not about the same height, he is the same height as Vladimir Putin. Make of that what you will. But this little tidbit from the news, Mark Zuckerberg mocked online for using booster seat during Facebook hearing. Mark Zuckerberg spent a grueling 5 hours testifying before a joint hearing of the Senate's Commerce and Judiciary Committee on Tuesday, this past Tuesday. But the internet wasn't exactly as concerned with the Facebook CEO's words as they were with his seating arrangement. Photographs of an uncomfortable Zuckerberg, 33, perched atop a seat pillow that Twitter users dubbed a billionaire's booster seat quickly made the rounds online and inspired countless memes. I might not be a billionaire, I might not own a massive business, but I can say that if I ever have to face a U.S. Senate inquiry, I won't need a booster seat to sit at the big boy table, one Twitter user quipped. Facts in evidence. Look at the photographs. You can find them on the internet. You can also go to the internet and find Zucky's own notes. Somehow somebody got a photo of Zuckerberg's own notes. And in these, he actually writes, and there's a photograph of this, where Zuckerberg has to be reminded himself of his accomplishments. As I write in Twitter, and as I've been known to write, AYFKM? Are you fucking kidding me?
Mr. Zuckerberg, does Facebook consider itself a neutral public forum?
This is Senator Ted Cruz.
Senator, we consider ourselves to be a platform for all ideas.
Let me ask the question again. Does Facebook consider itself to be a neutral public forum? And representatives of your company have given...
Listen to how he answers, the little smarmy dude. We consider this to be a platform for all ideas.
Conflicting answers on this. Are you a First Amendment speaker expressing your views, or are you a neutral public forum allowing everyone to speak?
Senator, here's how we think about this. I don't believe that there is certain content that clearly we do not allow, right? Hate speech, terrorist content, nudity, anything that makes people feel unsafe in the community.
Aha! At least he admits anything that makes people feel unsafe. A word can make any snowflake feel unsafe. Not facts, not figures, words, feelings, emotions, emo kind of stuff. Continue.
From that perspective, that's why we generally try to refer to what we do as a platform for all ideas.
Let me try, just because the time is constrained.
A platform for ideas. Okay. Whose ideas?
It's just a simple question. The predicate for Section 230 immunity under the CDA is that you are a neutral public forum. Do you consider yourself a neutral public forum, or are you engaged in political speech, which is your right under the First Amendment?
Well, Senator,
Hello. Catch-22. Meet Zucky.
Our goal is certainly not to engage in political speech. I'm not that familiar with the specific legal language of the law that you speak to, so I would need to follow up with you on that.
That's right. I run a multi-billion-dollar empire, but I'm not familiar with the shit that I need to know.
I'm just trying to lay out how broadly I think about this.
Well, Mr. Zuckerberg, I will say there are a great many Americans who I think are deeply concerned that Facebook and other tech companies are engaged in a pervasive pattern of bias and political censorship. There have been numerous instances with Facebook. In May of 2016, Gizmodo reported that Facebook had purposely and routinely suppressed conservative stories from trending news, including stories about CPAC, including stories about Mitt Romney, including stories about the Lois Lerner IRS scandal, including stories about Glenn Beck. In addition to that, Facebook has initially shut down the Chick-fil-A Appreciation Day page, has blocked a post of a Fox News reporter.
Okay, stop there just for a second. In case you don't know anything about Chick-fil-A, the owners and founders of Chick-fil-A are Christians. The company does not work on Sunday. They're the people that didn't want to pay their employees for anything having to do with abortion when they have their medical funded. They built the company. They own the company. And they believe this to their very core. So that's why Senator Ted Cruz happens to be mentioning Chick-fil-A. By the way, they make a fucking kick-ass chicken sandwich.
Has blocked over 24 Catholic pages, and most recently blocked Trump supporters Diamond and Silk's page with 1.2 million Facebook followers after determining their content and brand were, quote, unsafe to the community. To a great...
Okay. Here's the deal again when Zucky says these trip words, unsafe. They don't feel like, blah, blah, fill in the blank. Well, who gets to determine this? Oh, that's right. Zucky does. He gets to make that determination. His crew gets to make that determination.
Many Americans, that appears to be a pervasive pattern of political bias. Do you agree with that assessment?
Senator, let me say a few things about this. First, I understand where that concern is coming from because Facebook and the tech industry are located in Silicon Valley, which is an extremely left-leaning place.
Shock. When I first heard that, I almost fell off my chair because Mark Zuckerberg in this cut does, in fact, make a startling revelation. He's telling the truth. I was gobsmacked when I heard Zucky tell the truth.
And this is actually a concern that I have and that I try to root out at the company, is making sure that we don't have any bias in the work that we do. And
you're a lying sack of shit.
I think it is a fair concern that that people would at least wonder about.
Let me ask this question. Are you aware of any ad or page that has been taken down from Planned Parenthood?
Senator, I'm not, but let me just...
How about MoveOn.org?
Sorry?
How about MoveOn.org?
I'm not specifically aware of those.
How about any Democratic candidate for office?
I'm not specifically aware. I mean,
He full well knows the answer to all those questions. He's just not going to say it. He knows it, and he's not going to say it. By the way, were you aware that he was not sworn in before his testimony here today? So if he wants to, he really can lie his ass off, just like he's doing right now.
I'm not sure.
In your testimony, you say that you have 15 to 20,000 people working on security and content review. Do you know the political orientation of those 15 to 20,000 people engaged in content review?
Wait, I do.
No, Senator. We do not generally ask people about their political orientation when they're joining the company.
So as CEO, have you ever made hiring or firing decisions based on political positions or what candidates they supported?
No.
Why was Palmer Luckey fired?
That is a specific personnel matter that seems like it would be inappropriate to speak to here.
You just made a specific representation that you didn't make decisions based on political views.
Well,
boom. Shakalaka.
I can commit that it was not because of a political view.
Do you know of those 15 to 20,000 people engaged in content review? How many, if any, have ever supported financially a Republican candidate for office?
Senator, I do not know that.
Your testimony says it is not enough that we just connect people. We have to make sure those connections are positive. It says we have to make sure people aren't using their voice to hurt people or spread misinformation. We have a responsibility not just to build tools, to make sure those tools are used for good. Mr. Zuckerberg, do you feel it's your responsibility to assess users whether they are good and positive connections or ones that those 15 to 20,000 people deem unacceptable or deplorable?
Senator, you're asking about me personally?
Okay, stop just for a second. 15,000 people to determine what you, me, and anyone else can see, hear, or write in Facebook, what kind of posts we make. So 15,000 people. All you need is one of those people to look at what you post, and it conflicts with their worldview. You're done. Diamond and Silk, millions of followers. Black, female, conservatives, Donald Trump supporters, and magically, mystically, one day they're just gone.
Facebook.
Senator, I think that there are a number of things that we would all agree are clearly bad. Foreign interference in our elections, terrorism, self-harm.
I'm
Those
talking
are
about
things.
Censorship.
Well, I think that you would probably agree that we should remove terrorist propaganda from the service. So
that's not the issue, Zucky. That's not the issue. That's not what Cruz is driving at all. You know full well what he's driving at, but you're going to obfuscate as much as you can.
I agree. I think is clearly bad activity that we want to get down, and we're generally proud of how well we do at that.
The issue is not censoring terrorists, you dumb shit. The issue is censoring conservatives. Anybody with a conservative mind view, world view, bent, a registered Republican, maybe even an independent, perhaps even libertarian, someone that is not precisely in goose fucking stepping lockstep with you and your 15,000 sycophants.
Now, what I can say, and I do want to get this in before the end here, is that I am very committed to making sure that Facebook is a platform for all ideas. That is a very important...
No, you're not. That's a lie.
...founding principle of what we do. We're proud of the discourse and the different ideas that people can share.
There are no different ideas. There is a lockstep of ideas, and if you do not conform, you will be ousted. You will be kicked off the island.
On the service, and that is something that, as long as I'm running
the same is true for Twitter.
The company, I'm going to be committed to making sure is the case.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Cruz.
Yeah, okay. So, you know what? If you have to prevaricate and quantify through all of that, then no, you are not an adherent to the First Amendment. You're an adherent to your own biased political views.
Have you or anyone at Facebook been interviewed by the special counsel's office?
Yes.
Have you been interviewed?
I have not. I have not.
Others have.
I believe so, and
He's being asked if Robert Mueller has talked to him, to Mark Zuckerberg, the special counsel's office.
I want to be careful here because that our work with the special counsel is confidential, and I want to make sure that in an open session I'm not revealing something that's confidential.
I understand. That's why I made clear that you have been contacted. You have had subpoenas.
By the way, that's Senator Patrick Leahy. He's a Democrat from, I think he's from Vermont.
Actually, let me clarify that. I actually am not aware of a subpoena. I believe that there may be, but I know we're working with them.
Do you know who Palantir is?
I do.
Remember, that's the name that he avoided before with Ted Cruz.
Some people have referred to them as Stanford Analytica. Do you agree?
Senator, I have not heard that.
This is Senator Cantwell, Democrat.
Okay. Do you think Palantir taught Cambridge Analytica, as press reports are saying, how to do these tactics?
Senator, I don't know.
Do you think that Palantir has ever scraped...
Okay, keep following this for a while, because you've heard the phrase or the company Cambridge Analytica. I will get to that. I will tie this all together before the show has ended. Just please keep listening.
Data from Facebook?
Senator, I'm not aware of that.
Okay. Do you think that during the 2016 campaign, as Cambridge Analytica was providing support to the Trump campaign under Project Alamo, were there any Facebook people involved in that sharing of technique and information?
Senator, we provided support to the Trump campaign similar to what we provide to any advertiser or campaign who asks for it.
Okay, that's important. Remember that. That's important.
Mr. Zuckerberg, would you be comfortable sharing with us the name of the hotel you stayed in last night?
Senator Dick Durbin, Democrat.
No.
If you've messaged anybody this week, would you share with us the names of the people you've messaged?
Senator, no, I would probably not choose to do that publicly here.
I think...
You see the point?
That may be what this is all about.
Here's what everybody's been trying to tell you today, and I say this gently.
Senator John Kennedy, Republican.
Your user agreement sucks. I'm going to suggest to you that you go back home and rewrite it. And tell your $1,200 an hour lawyers, no disrespect, they're good. But tell them you want it written in English, in non-Swahili, so the average American can understand it. That would be a start.
Quite a story, right? Dorm room to the global behemoth that you guys are, only in America. Would you agree with that?
Senator
mostly in America.
You couldn't do this in China, right? Or
Senator Dan Sullivan, Republican, Alaska.
what you did 10 years.
Well, Senator, there are some very strong Chinese internet companies.
Right, but you're supposed to answer yes to this question. Okay, come on, I'm trying to help you, right? I mean, give me a break. You're in front of a bunch of... The answer is yes, okay? So thank you.
And he couldn't even answer yes to a softball question of that. Well, I'm not done yet. I'm not even remotely done. A few more tasty bits. Say Zucky, what about that 2% compliancy rate at Facebook in terms of diversity? What about that, sir? North Carolina Representative George Butterfield was really unhappy about that. Georgie wasn't interested in security. Oh, no. George was interested in Facebook diversity. Where are the jobs for unskilled blacks at Facebook beside the janitorial staff, Zucky? Why not a black guy on your board? Why not?
We've got to concentrate more on board membership for African Americans and also minorities at the entry level within your company.
Now, you're going to love this. You're just going to love this because this is Zuckerberg again. I think he was smart enough to recognize this, but he was hoisted on a petard of his own making out of this.
I was looking at your website a few minutes ago, and it looks like you list 5 individuals as leadership in your company. But none of them is African American. I was just looking at it, not only you and Cheryl, but David, Mike, and Chris.
Okay, do you understand what Butterfield is saying? It doesn't matter whether or not, I'm just going to make this point early, fuck it. It doesn't matter whether the people that are on his board or in his company are competent. You only can take from the crew the gene pool of people who apply to be an engineer or whatever the job happens to be in your building. So you, and I cannot fault Mark Zuckerberg for doing this, you want to promote people who are tech and engineer related. And if you don't happen to get blacks or Tongans or crazed Albanian dwarfs applying to be on the tech end of Facebook, as far as I'm concerned, Butterfield baby, that's not his problem. But yet, Zucky is being hoisted on his petard for not placing people in positions just because they're black.
That is your leadership team, and this does not reflect America. Can you improve
It reflects the real world in terms of how many blacks want to be engineers, electrical or otherwise, and are tech demons, doesn't it? And the answer is yes, it does.
The numbers on your leadership team to be more diverse?
So, the point, Mr. Butterfield, is he just wants blacks in there just because. They don't have to be competent, they just have to have a certain melanin count.
This is an issue that we're focused on. We have a broader leadership than just 5 people. I mean,
it's not on your website.
I understand that.
We can do better than that, Mr. Zuckerberg. We certainly can.
Okay, sure you can. Make more black engineers, male and female, in college. Have them go through various classes and then have them apply to tech companies just like everybody else.
Do you plan to add an African American to your leadership team in the foreseeable future, and will you commit that you will continue to work with us, the Congressional Black Caucus, to increase diversity within your company that you're so proud of?
The correct answer is I will when they're competent, and I will when they work like most everyone else from the ground up.
Congressman, we will certainly work with you. This is an important issue.
We also find that companies' failure to retain black employees contributes to their low presence at technology companies, and there's little transparency in retention numbers. So will you commit to providing numbers on your retention? That's the big word, retention of your employees, disaggregated by race in your diversity update starting this year.
Ooh, petard meet Zucky.
Can we get that data? That's the starting point.
Congressman, we try to include a lot of important information in the diversity updates. I will go discuss that with my team after I get back from this hearing.
I'm out of time, sir. I'll take this up with your team in another setting. We'll be out there in a few weeks. Thank you.
Ow. That's got to hurt. That really has to hurt. Zucky, you're not applying blacks into positions of power or control just because. Which is exactly, let's be honest, that's exactly what George Butterfield is demanding. I don't care whether they're competent or not. They just have to be reflective of the community around you. Stop. Hey, folks, have you been to Silicon Valley? Because I have. I've been there twice this past year on some other event. When you walk around Silicon Valley, and it really is, it's an enclave all its own. What do you see? The answer is some Caucasoids and an assload of Asians. And why is that? That's because they're interested in tech. And, oh, damn it, BZ just happened to speak the truth. The awful, ugly, honest truth. But that's what I do here. And that's why you listen to me here at the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show. It's the bottom of the hour. We have one more final break to go, and we're going to continue talking to Zucky and pointing out some interesting things that you really didn't have time to hear, or you didn't hear how he equivocated. This is the CEO, the 33-year-old child CEO of a multi-billion dollar company whose job, as far as he's concerned, is to discriminate wholesale against conservatives, Christians, and people that don't have his mindset.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads radio show. Also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capitol, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through shrmedia.com, highplanestalkradio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender ever,
because truth is not always pleasant.
Hey guys, it's Sackhead Clint. I'm excited to tell you about a brand new show here on the SHR Media Network. I'm teaming up with the one and only all-powerful, the bloviating Zeppelin, sitting here to my left, bringing to you a fresh new show here on the network. It's Against Tyranny. And we'll be picking up where the Sackheads left off. Excited to be with you, sir.
Sackheads against tyranny.
We're going to chat. We're going to chat Wednesday nights.
SHAT.
Sackheads against tyranny.
Wednesday nights, 11 p.m. Oh, it's the same time, right? 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific.
Same SAC time, same SAC channel.
Yep. SHRmedia.com.
See what I did there?
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on SHRmedia.com.
Hey, BZ. So the plan's working. You got rid of Sacco. Sean is now stepping away.
I never even saw him.
And I know, and insidious. You know, we talked about this for for the last 3 years, and finally coming to fruition.
You know I'm still in the room, right?
It's almost like he's here still. Did you hear that?
Yeah, it's kind of.
It's amazing. It's kind of
at you.
It's kind of eerie.
Kind of a poltergeist.
Like a poltergeisty thing.
Yeah, sackheads against tyranny.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
That's right. This last segment, kind of a nice jumpy tune to get right back into the show. Liking this one. Hey, we played that one at the Sackheads Against Tyranny. I created all this junk. I put it all together, and I found a couple of end stingers for the Sackheads Against Tyranny show. And I happen to like that one. I thought that was kind of fun instead of the 60-second outro that I put on some of the others. So, what the hell? It's here. I had to play it. Besides, it's mine. I get to play it. I can play it on Sackheads Against Tyranny. It's here in my computer. I made it. I can play it. We're going to continue listening. By the way, you're listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin right here, live and direct on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. The Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California. With luck, not too much terribly longer. BZ's got his eyeballs set on another state. I had to pay my taxes. I was talking to Right Wing Aviator. He had to pay his taxes too. Whiskey Dale. We all had to pay our taxes. And if you're not in California, well, maybe you're not paying your fair share of taxes. Well, we're going to continue on with the Facebook debacle, because this is pretty much my one and only time to get involved and expose Zucky and his plan and his Facebook leftists for the incredibly biased individuals they are. Now, remember, it's evil. It's evil when the GOP finally figures out how to collect data for the Trump campaign, right? It's evil when the GOP does that. That can't be true.
2018. Yeah, but he got away.
He sure did.
Also this morning, Facebook is under fire and facing growing outrage over the misuse of data from some 50 million users and its possible impact on the 2016 presidential election. The whistleblower who brought this to light is with us for an exclusive live interview. But first, NBC national correspondent Peter Alexander with the latest. Peter, good morning.
Hey, Savannah, good morning to you. This morning, that whistleblower, a former insider at the British-based company, is revealing new details about exactly how he says his old firm helped fuel support for Donald Trump's campaign during the 2016 election.
Remember, fueling support for Donald Trump's campaign by way of Facebook is evil.
He says the company secretly accessed personal information from those 50 million Facebook users, many of them American.
Secretly. By the way, they're not going to mention it. Do you know how they secretly accessed information? They went onto Facebook and they proffered a poll. So no one was forced to take the poll. The poll said, hey, take this poll. In the process of taking the poll, we're going to ask for some information from you. We want to have information from you. You can either click on the poll and take it or not. The people that clicked on the poll gave the information. It was not forced from them. By the way, have you heard anyone tell you that it was a voluntary poll on Facebook?
Americans turning their profiles into what were effectively unique political weapons. Now Facebook says
unique political weapons.
It's trying to make sure that data is never used again. This morning, this whistleblower insists he's pulling back the veil, revealing what he calls the secret campaign strategy to manipulate Facebook users ahead of the 2016 election.
Remember, that's never been done before, right?
It's coercive. People don't know that it's being done to them.
Speaking to our British TV partner, ITN Channel 4, Christopher Wiley says his former company, Cambridge Analytica, obtained personal data of tens of millions of Facebook users without their consent. The goal? To help Republican presidential candidates.
We were able to get upwards of 50 million plus Facebook records in the span of a couple months.
How'd they do it? Beginning in 2014, many Facebook users were paid to take a personality test funded by Cambridge Analytica, agreeing to give up some personal data. But Wiley says what they didn't know...
Let's see, were you forced to take this? As I said, no.
At the same time, the company was scooping up all of their friends' private information, too. So a survey that started...
That's never been done before.
With about 270,000 people, ultimately collected more than 50 million profiles.
Thank you.
For political...
By the way, how many people are on Facebook? Oh, that's right. Close to 1 billion.
Operatives like Steve Bannon, who became a director at Cambridge...
Evil Steve Bannon.
Analytica, and who would eventually help run Donald Trump's campaign. All that personal data about potential voters was a gold mine.
Steve wanted...
It was a gold mine!
Weapons for his culture war. That's what he wanted. And we offered him a way to accomplish what he wanted to do, which was change the culture of America.
Facebook learned its data was being shared in 2015 and asked...
Wait for it. Did they pay for it? Well, yes, they did. What's Facebook? A business.
Cambridge Analytica to delete the data. But Wiley says Facebook never checked to make sure that happened. Now Congress wants answers, with at least one Democratic senator demanding Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg testify. These latest revelations, another damaging headline for Facebook, already under fire over its role in the spread of Russian propaganda during the campaign. The company telling NBC News that it remains committed to vigorously enforcing our policies to protect people's information. Facebook has suspended Cambridge Analytica and its parent company. They've also blocked Wiley, who Facebook says is refusing to cooperate until his suspension is lifted. For its part, Cambridge Analytica calls Wiley a disgruntled former contractor who's trying to damage the company and says that it complies with Facebook's terms of service.
Tell you what, I bet they do comply with Facebook's rules of service. The big difference? Oh, in the next audio cut, I think you'll hear the quite clear difference between two recent situations.
NBC News reached out to Steve Bannon for comment, but we have not heard back. So what about all of that personal information now? Still unclear. Cambridge Analytica insists it's been destroyed, but the New York Times says it's recently seen a portion of the raw data that it's still out there. Hoda and Savannah?
All right, Peter, thank you. And Christopher Wiley is with us.
Okay, and Savannah, thank you. On the other hand, okay, remember, but wait, there's more. Like I said, on the other hand, it's perfectly acceptable that the Democrats figured this out back in 2015. There's this particular chick named Carol Davidson. You can search on your favorite search engine and find this out. Carol, C-A-R-O-L, Davidson, D-A-V-I-D-S-E-N, Obama's campaign manager. And she had this to say about, she was Obama's campaign manager, and she was bragging about Facebook data mining back in 2015. That's the cool thing to do.
Right? Facebook, 2012 election, had the ability for people to opt in. The Obama campaign, rocked this, right? We got people to opt in, and the privacy policies at that time on Facebook were that if they opted in, they could tell us who all their friends were. Okay, so they told us who all their friends were. Mm-hmm. This is very much how local campaigns work, right? People sit in a room, it's a really small thing, all of their biggest supporters sit around the table and they circle the names of the people that they know and that they're going to outreach to, and they figure out how to fill in the gaps of the people that they don't know. The Obama campaign just did this on a digital level, on a much larger level, but we were actually able to ingest the entire...
On a much larger level, but we were able to ingest...
...entire social network.
The entire social network.
Social network of the U.S.
The entire social network of the U.S.
That's on Facebook, which is most people.
I don't completely understand this scandal.
And that's good.
Now, in the sense that this has been happening since 2012, the Obama campaign did this brilliantly.
The Obama campaign is widely believed to have had the most sophisticated data mining operation. They are so-called micro-targeting individual voters using sophisticated ways to figure out who they can persuade.
Obama good, Trump bad.
Don't completely understand this scandal now in the sense that this has been happening since 2012. The Obama campaign did this brilliantly. They used micro-targeting and data mining. Sasha Eisenberg actually has a book called The Victory Lab. It was an article that was turned into a book that showed how the Obama campaign
Hey, right-wing aviator, 2012, you were correct, weren't you?
Utilized and targeted voters, and the exact quote is, a new political currency that predicted the behavior of individuals. The campaign didn't just know who you were, it knew exactly how it could turn you into the type of person it wanted you to be. So the double standard
And those are quotes.
I don't understand right now is, I'm against this as a whole. I agree. I think this is very dystopian. I don't like our information being used. I don't like the idea that we as Facebook users are the target.
Obama good, Trump bad. That's the only fucking difference.
And the product that they're using to manipulate us. But it happened with Obama, and it was lauded by the media as being genius. And now the Trump campaign did it. Or Cambridge Analytical scandal. Yeah, it was micro-targeting and data mining.
I think it's different, though, because
it's not different, though.
Well, in my opinion, I think...
In my opinion, it's different.
It's different in the sense that if you're talking about a political campaign, yes, trying to reach out to voters with your own messaging, what's happening, according to Cambridge Analytica, this scandal, is that people are using, users' profiles and feeding them misinformation.
It's the same thing.
About our country.
Really
One
quick?
second.
I have to push back on this. The New York
That's
Times
wrong.
in 2012 said it reported this feature that hailed the Obama campaign's digital mastermind. It said, quote, the campaign's exhaustive use of Facebook triggered the site's internal safeguards. And that's what we're talking about right now, the internal safeguards that have been targeted. And they said they'd sigh and say, you can do this as long as you stop doing it on November 7th. So we're talking, this has been going on for a long time. And I think the problem right now is, for people like me, is, again, I'm against this wholeheartedly. I think Cambridge Analytical in general is sort of a shady company. It worked for Ted Cruz. It's funded by the Mercers, same people that funded Breitbart. Yes, but I think that it is
Obama good, Trump bad.
Interesting to me that there wasn't a problem with it when the Obamas did it, and now there's a big problem with it when Trump did it.
Yeah, bingo! Isn't that amazing? So I have another bonus. I have another bonus cut just for you. Let's listen. I happen to be scrolling through YouTube, and if I can find this shit, then any journalist can, any radio station can, any TV station can, any broadcast center can, because it's right there in front of God and everybody. All you have to do is want to find it. And so I found it. So, as I said, let's listen to Maxine Waters talk about Obama's databases and the plans that she has for its utilization. Because, you know what, naturally, data collection on behalf of Democrats and leftists by any means necessary is quite acceptable, is it not, in a civilized society? Take it away, Maxine, who talks about the Organizing for America secret database.
Made clear to our viewers and listeners is that, look, this is the inauguration represented the beginning of his second term.
Yes.
But it also represented the countdown of the end of his presidency.
That's right.
And the reality is, like anything else, you better get what you can while he's there, because, look, come 2016, that's it.
Well, you know, I don't know, and I think some people are missing something here. The president has put in place an organization that contains the kind of database that no one has ever seen before in life.
No one has ever seen before in life. And it's something to brag about, isn't it? Maxine.
That's going to be very, very powerful. And whoever...
In terms of the Organizing for America that he's now shifting to become a 501c4.
Very, very powerful.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And that database will have information about everything on every individual and what
everything on every individual. But that's okay. They're Democrats.
They said it's never been done before, and whoever runs for president on the Democratic ticket have to deal with that. They're going to have to go down with that database and the concerns of those people because they can't get around it. And he's been very smart. I mean, it's very powerful what he's leaving.
Hoovering information for Obama, good. Hoovering information for Donald Trump, the guy with the dead orange cat on his head, bad.
In place. And I think that's what any Democratic candidate is going to have to deal with.
That's what any Democrat candidate is going to have to. So, in summary, I guess perhaps this could be said, right?
Political consulting firm Cambridge Analytica has come under fire for its use of harvested data taken from Facebook.
By the way, this is OAN One America News.
One America's Alex Salvi has more on the very different response to the same tactics used by the Obama campaign.
Same tactics. Same tactics. Same tactics. By the way, in MSNBC, CNN, CNBC, ABC, CBS, NBC, have any of these things, has this criticality, this confluence of conflicting events and thoughts and philosophies, has this been pointed out by any of them? And the answer is...
Facebook has been the subject of recent criticism following reports of Cambridge Analytica using harvested data to analyze user voting tendencies.
The answer is no.
But the discovery demonstrates the social media giant and partisan lawmakers may have selective standards when it comes to data collection practices.
Such activity indicates campaign finance laws and properly a broader conspiracy to defraud the United States.
Die-fi.
Cambridge Analytica bought Facebook data harvested by a third party and was later told to delete the information that it had obtained. After it failed to do so, its account was suspended by Facebook.
What happened to all the information that was collected on behalf of Barack Hussein Obama Organizing for America? Did anyone demand that information be deleted? Bueller?
A much different reaction than when the
Or perhaps Mueller?
Obama campaign was caught performing in the same way.
The Obama campaign just did this on a digital level, on a much larger level, but we were actually able to ingest the
Carol Davidson once again. Thanks, Carol.
Entire social network of the U.S. That's on Facebook, which is most people.
Carol Davidson was the director of integration and media analytics for the 2012 Obama campaign and worked on data mining projects such as the Optimizer and Narwhal. Back in 2015, she outlined how the campaign was able to use Facebook data to put together a social graph to help them target potential undecided voters.
We got people to opt in, and the privacy policies at that time on Facebook were that if they opted in, they could tell us who all their friends were.
And people willingly, under the campaign in 2016, they willingly took that test as well. They willingly took that survey as well.
More than 1 million Obama supporters gave the campaign permission to look at their friends list, instantaneously giving the campaign access to younger voters.
So the Democrats have this information, so when they look at a voter file and someone comes to them, they can immediately be like, oh, here are all the other people that they know, and here are people that they can help us persuade because they're really good friends.
That they can help us persuade.
With this person.
After Facebook found out, Davidson says they allowed the Obama campaign to continue harvesting information, telling her they were supportive of the cause.
Here's a tweet, by the way. And it says this from Carol Davidson. Facebook was surprised we were able to suck out the whole social graph, but they didn't stop us once they realized that was what we were doing.
Republicans do not have that information and will not get that information, right? Now, I'm a Democrat, so maybe I could argue that's a great thing.
It's okay for us.
But really, it's not in the overall process, right?
The data set was enormous, but only 15% of the profiles had a listed phone number, which prompted Facebook to offer an alternative method of communication. Davidson demonstrates how the campaign was able to put together a psychographic profile of a user and target ads to appeal to an individual's interests.
That freaks Facebook out, right? So they shut off the feature. Well, the Republicans never built an app to do that.
Aha, do you see what she's saying? We're smarter than them. We did it. They weren't smart enough to do it then. It was wrong then. It was wrong now. Just ask leftists. Oh, no, but wait, it really wasn't wrong then. She thinks it might be wrong, but hey, it's for us, so it really isn't wrong.
So the data's out there. You can't take it back, right?
Even in 2015, the possibility of this type of behavior happening again wasn't out of the realm of possibility.
This will happen in the 2016 cycle, right? This information will be available and people will make choices on whether or not they want to pay to be able to do this and how
She saw that coming. What a shock.
valuable this is to them.
And that's exactly what happened. But this time, Facebook is receiving a much different response than when the Obama campaign carried out the same practice in 2012.
The American people need to know how this happened, who knew about it, and what can be done to protect their privacy and integrity of our elections going forward.
Right. Where was Dianne Feinstein in 2012? Where was Dianne Feinstein in 2015? Nowhere to be found.
Facebook may be backing itself into being regulated if it continues to target the party that has given it freedom for so many years. Alex Salvi, One America News.
Isn't that a shock? That's a shock, isn't it? But wait, hey, got a question for you. Can anybody fire Zucky? How does this affect Zucky in and of himself? Anybody ever asked
CEO
that?
Mark Zuckerberg will give testimony to 3 congressional committees in 2 hearings this week. He'll address how Facebook's user data was improperly accessed by Cambridge Analytica. The consulting firm used the information for politically targeted advertising during the 2016 presidential election. Around 87 million Facebook users had their information mined.
Actually, when you think about it, that's damn few considering the number of people that use Facebook.
This all comes as Facebook suspended another data analytics firm, CubeView, for allegedly collecting user data improperly. Facebook only took action after a news outlet alerted the company. CubeView told CBS News in a statement, CubeView takes great care to collect data in compliance with all relevant privacy provisions and laws.
Right.
Sandy Parakilis led the team at Facebook responsible for data privacy violations on the company's app platform. He says he warned Facebook in 2012 about potential risks, like the Cambridge Analytica scandal.
He warned Facebook in 2012? Let's listen.
Sandy, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
What, Sandy, do you want to hear Mark Zuckerberg say right away at the hearing to prove that something's different there?
Well, I think the first thing he needs to do is he needs to address the corporate governance of Facebook. He is unaccountable at the moment.
Stop. Did you just hear what I heard? Did you hear what I hear? Listen again.
I think he needs to do is he needs to address the corporate governance of Facebook. He is unaccountable at the moment. He controls the company 100%. And so it's not a good situation to have someone who has that much power over a company of this much importance.
So do you think, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, that back in 2012 and back in 2015, little Marky Zuckerberg, booster seat boy, wasn't aware of what was going on within his company?
You say he's unaccountable, but he's on the hook right now and being talked about every second. He's going in front of Congress, and they've just lost millions of dollars on the market.
Only because it was for Trump, not because it was pro-Obama.
So,
of course.
That's a lot of pressure on him. He seems pretty accountable.
Well, it's a lot of pressure, but keep in mind, no one can fire him. There's no independent board that can step in and say, hey, Mark, you're not doing a good enough job. We need you to step aside.
Bingo. Thank you very much, folks. I think you just hit the nail on the head. So I have to ask, now that you're aware of the full facts regarding Cambridge Analytica and what happened prior and what's happening now, the hearing, the congressional hearing this past week, that was theater. That was political theater. That was show and tell. Another reason that now you understand why it is that Mark Zuckerberg was not sworn in during this. So the clouds are beginning to part for you. If Facebook, here's the bottom line, if Facebook likes your ideology, you are golden. If you are a conservative or a Republican, you can go straight to hell. No tapbacks, no erases.
Monsieur has been locked.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Thanks for listening to me here tonight, Saturday night, for the Thursday night edition of the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show. Right here on the SHR Media Network. You want to contact me? You can find me at bloviatingzeppelin.net, on Twitter, still in social media. Don't know why, don't know for how long, at BZEP, BZEP. And my original intro music is by Possessed Tranquility. You can find them at ReverbNation.com. Promotional consideration by Lockheed Martin Skunkworks. And, of course, the Boeing Company. If it ain't Boeing, I ain't going. And Pratt & Whitney Engines Thrust. You can trust. Thanks to my personal KC-135 Kettle One refueling team with whom I will be consorting in less than an hour. You can take that to the bank. Thank you ever so kindly for listening to this in podcast, which is where I'm sure that I will get most of my listeners. Thanks to Whiskey Dale for being in chat. Thanks to Right Wing Aviator for being in chat. Thanks to you for listening in podcast. Everyone, have a great and safe Sunday. God bless. Take care. Be safe. Come back Tuesday for BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon.
Everybody quiet down now and get some sleep.
Night, everybody.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Ben.
Good night, everyone. Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy.
Good night, children. Good night, Daddy. Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob.
What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing?
Good night,
Jim Bob. Go to sleep.
Good night, and good luck.